Today we're going to be talking about four movies. The first two Alien movies, Alien and the sequel Aliens, as well as the prequels, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and why they're not so different, or really why the prequels get so much hate. I happen to love the prequels. I love Prometheus. I love Covenant. I love where the series is kind of headed. I hope that the third movie gets completed and it kind of swings right into Alien. I know a lot of fans hate that. I know a lot of fans do not like David. I know people prefer that the xenomorph just be this kind of mystery from outer space, and the fact that David created the protomorph and the neomorph and is about to create the xenomorph as we know it. People hate that. Okay, I love it. I love sci-fi. I think those stories are super cool. But what this video is about, and what this video is about some of the plot holes, some of the problems with our favorites from the series, just because I'm a fan of the prequels and they're so overly ridiculed by some Alien fans. They call them schlock, they call them trash, they don't like them. But what's some of the crazy shit going on in Alien and Aliens? And actually, you know what, before we get started, I have a quick programming note. Stay with me. The microphone I'm using, there's a couple points where it kind of cuts out, so sorry about that, but it's just for like 1 or 2 seconds. I don't think you really miss any of the points that I'm making or whatever, but anyways, that does happen. Sorry about that. And this video, you know, you'll see on good channels when people are doing movie reviews or whatever, there's all sorts of clips, and when they're giving an example of what they're talking about, they show the clip and stuff like that. I really wish I could do that. I don't have space on my computer for that right now. My external drive literally just broke like last week, or I hope it's not corrupted. My wedding photos are on there, all sorts of important shit. But anyway, that's why this video is going to be mostly like a slideshow. So anyway, sorry about that too. We're going to start with Aliens, the sequel, a movie that I love. Okay, it's an absolute quintessential action movie. It's a sci-fi masterpiece, really, is what it is. And it's not cheesy, okay? In the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, action movies, even now, action movies are cheesy. You got guys hanging off helicopters, holding on to anti-tank guns, sorry, Predator, just doing crazy, like, over-the-top Rambo shit, okay? Aliens doesn't have that, okay? It's more realistic. It's cool, you know. It's a fun watch because it's not stupid. I think that's what a lot of people, what's endearing about the movie. All right, Aliens does have its problems. We'll start with bullet point number 1, we'll call it the survey team. I think it's the opening scene of the movie, if I'm not mistaken. There's a vehicle outside. It looks like a big tractor, and we cut to the inside shot, the interior. That's a mom and a dad and 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They're both however old kids are, I don't know. But we learn one of them's Newt, okay? So we know Newt's between the ages of like 8 and 10 or 11. So anyway, they're little kids. And this survey team family is exploring the far corner of the middle of nowhere. Why are the children there is what we're getting to in point number 1 here. Let's say the dad says, we have to go explore this literal mystery ship right now, all alone, without masks. OMG, by the way, because that's a huge thing that comes up with Prometheus, and Covenant, and without weapons. Let's say that the family, they didn't find a babysitter and that the kids are there. Okay, we'll put that aside. The kids are there. Maybe, you know, they're out exploring with the mom and dad surveyors. You find the Juggernaut, all right? You find this fucking massive ship. It's a spaceship. You're a space person. We're in the far future. It's an alien ship, or it's a fucking human ship. Who knows what kind of ship it is. go home, all right? Go home. Come back tomorrow. Bring some flashlights, bring some gear, bring some masks. Do this without your children, all right? Leave them alone. All right? If to claim the ship, you just found this amazing, incredible ship, you want to claim it like a pirate, if you have to physically like touch down, if you have to walk inside, if that's their mindset, we have to go to do this right now. I mean, that's crazy. Is it not? That scene alone, I think that's 50% of the complaints you hear about Covenant. All right? If the crew of the Prometheus are idiots because, listen, they have this, like, to you and I, it's unquantifiable how advanced the Prometheus ship is, and they have all this equipment, the instruments that read the atmosphere, read the toxicity, all that shit. They have David, they have this super advanced synthetic person that he has the capability to make determinations based on what, all this computer shit that's going on in his head. Okay, so if all three of those things, you got Mother, you have the equipment, and you have David, if all those agree that it's safe to proceed in Prometheus without equipment, this is like such a huge thing. You guys aren't wearing equipment. This is like what people say in 2020 and ever since Prometheus came out. People complain that they don't have equipment that you and I understand, which we don't understand, actually. Like, I don't know why any of that stuff. I don't know why life support gear works. I don't know how that works. I don't know what makes stuff able to breathe, blah, 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 blah. Going back to the surveyed people, they don't have shit, all right? They hop out of their tractor, they jump out of their little rover, and they just stroll right into the ship. So that's madness. All right, we'll wrap up point number 1 right there with that. Moving on to number 2, and I am certainly not the first person to bring this up, nor am I the first person to bring up probably any of the stuff that we're discussing here on the show today. But moving on to number 2 is Newt survived how freaking long alone again? How long alone again, Newt is somewhere around 8 years old, maybe even up to 11, somewhere in between there, 8 to 11. If, for example, you left an 11-year-old, we'll just say, inside of a Walmart, like a fully stocked Walmart, a Target, whatever grocery store, they would be dead in under 2 days, 48 hours. That kid would be so fucking dead. They don't know how to eat. They don't know how to feed themselves. They don't know. Kids are stupid, all right? I'm exaggerating. I am exaggerating. But how much water would she have needed to survive, 3 to 4 weeks plus? Not to mention that the climate is completely tropical there. It's brought up that in Alien, Kane mentions how tropical it is and how hot it is. And there's a line in Aliens, I forget what it is, hinting that it's super hot and super humid. How much water would she need for that? The answer is a lot. Okay. Does she have like bottled water that we don't see? Is there like a fountain, a drinking fountain, or is the water still running at the compound? I don't know. Going forward, okay, moving on from that. Where exactly is Newt going to the bathroom? Okay. Is she making several side missions throughout the day to go to the bathroom inside a toilet somewhere in the facility? I mean, that is the most ideal thing that you could think of. I mean, it's a lot better than if she's going to the bathroom in her little room that she's in, because that's like 10 by 10. So yeah, best case scenario, she is scurrying around, but there's xenomorphs everywhere. All right, I mean, I guess you can argue that the Xenos aren't constantly patrolling the facility anymore, because they have been there and they've done that, and they have everybody seemingly already rounded up and stored at the cooling station, all cocooned up. But that actually, I mean, that doesn't jive with every other instance of the Xenos that we've seen throughout the series, because they're constantly hunting and attacking people. So Anyway, I don't know. Of course, they're not going to include how a little kid goes to the bathroom, but that's just another point. It's crazy to think about when she's survived all this time. And Newt is involved with like so many other little plot points throughout the movie. Her survival, like I've just talked about for however long, but also her relationship with Ripley is a massive thing going throughout the movie. It's a massive story. In reality, quote unquote, there would be no Newt, okay? She's not treated like an 11-year-old kid in this movie. She's treated like some sort of Bear Grylls level survivalist, but like on steroids, all right? A survivalist with some training maybe could survive, you know? Maybe they find water, maybe they find food, maybe they do all this shit. A little kid wouldn't, and that's my point for number 2. All right, moving on to point number 3. After the Marines wake up, they're coming out of their sleep, they're all groggy, they're doing all the character development. You see Apone, he's got his cigar straight away. What's her name's doing pull-ups, they're cracking jokes, everything. Okay, so right after that, there's a scene where Gorman is briefing everyone, and that is the point I'm getting to in point number 3. During this briefing, Gorman mentions, quote, a xenomorph may be involved, insinuating that the Colonial Marines are familiar with xenomorphs. But then Frost, the character Frost, he says, a what? He doesn't know what a xenomorph is, so he's not familiar with one. But the brass is, someone's familiar with the xenomorph to the point where they have a name, but apparently the chicken shit outfit isn't. This kind of contradicts a little bit. 2 quotes from the movie are, they're coming out of the walls, man! And is this going to be a stand-up fight or another bug hunt? These are both quotes, these are both lines by Hudson. The latter of the 2 insinuates he's fairly familiar with fighting, quote, bugs. The first line that I mentioned has him sounding completely shocked and unprepared for this predicament when they actually are fighting bugs. So which is it? Digging around online, actually, someone posted something that I wasn't aware of. It's something that's not in the movie. It's something that you have to dig. It's like some lore, some fan lore that the Bug Stomper unit, the Colonial Marines that we know, they were on some other mission where they were fighting some bugs. They're familiar with bugs, okay? So if you look at the word bug as literal, like you and I know, they have done that. But something else that the same guy also mentioned is that the term bug hunt is kind of meaning like the unit of Marines, they go out on a mission and it ends up kind of being like a dud, meaning that they don't get to do shit, all right? There's no big firefight, and that's what they kind of mean by bug hunt, so something to think about. But in the context of the movie, like, none of that exists, all right? And there's plenty of stuff in Prometheus and Covenant that's cut out, that you could cite, like, oh, well, if you go over here and watch this deleted scene, then this kind of makes sense. But people don't do that for Aliens, all right? And I'm kind of rambling a little bit here. Going back to the briefing, why is the unit not educated, like right there, what a xenomorph is? Okay, guys, this is a xenomorph. It's a 7-foot tall bug. It's got acid in its veins, blah, 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 blah. I mean, intel suggests that they are possibly going to be fighting xenomorphs soon. So it's like, why doesn't someone raise their hand and be like, oh, what the fuck did you just say? What was that word? Xenomorph? I've never heard it. So what the fuck is that? The Marines should either be already familiar with xenomorphs, or they should have just been told extensively every single detail on what they are. But as you see, once they arrive in the station and a xenomorph or multiple xenomorphs show up, the Colonial Marines are smoked. Like within minutes, they're all taken out. All right, so a little, I guess 3A, we'll call it 3A under this section. So, without question, someone is aware of the existence of xenomorphs. We just learned that from Gorman's briefing. Why is Ripley needed at all as a consultant on this mission? If they already know what a xenomorph is, why do they need Ripley? I mean, I guess it's kind of insinuated that the colonial Marines don't know what xenomorphs are because one of them mentions they refer to the xenomorph as, quote, Ripley's bad guy. That means like that's something that Ripley made up. Like they don't believe a xenomorph's a real thing. So those two things contradict, don't they? I mean, you could argue that bringing Ripley along is part of the Wayland, like, Burke, shady, evil corporation conspiracy motive that she needs to be killed or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not buying it. Alright, so bullet point 3 got a little crazy, a little rambly. We're going to move on now to bullet point number 4 in why Aliens is a crazy movie. And that is this. This might be one of my favorite ones, actually. The alien queen stowing away in the landing gear of the dropship. Okay, is there any explanation needed for this? No, hell no. There's no aircraft in history designed with an alien queen-size extra room in the landing gear bay. Not to mention her level of sneakiness to scurry into this area without anyone noticing. It's crazy. I mean, Bishop was just standing right there. Ripley's standing right there. Nobody notices this, like, fucking, how tall is the queen? Like 20 feet tall. And she just, like, whoop, sneaks onto this ship. Not seen and not, like, detected. Like, they don't, I mean, if a crow or like a bird lands on the roof of my house, I hear it. They don't hear this fucking massive alien, like creeping into the it's wild, man. But I think more importantly, and I'm going to try not to ramble again, let's think about how the queen got up to the platform to begin with. All right, we know that she took the elevator. Okay, the elevator automatically resets when it goes down. It goes back up. We saw that early in the movie. So this is how the queen does get topside. She sees the door open, she rides the elevator. But let's talk about how the hell she even got to the elevator landing down below. All right, this is the scene. We see Ripley. She's had the little. She's done this. She's squared off with the queen, the Xenos. That she's like standing them all down. And then she has a change of heart. She turns around. She torches the fuck out of everything. She uses the flamethrower, burns up all the eggs. She's standing there just rocking. And Newt finally notices, oh, fuck, we're being stalked. We're about to be murdered by a xenomorph. She tells Ripley. Ends up shooting the xenomorph, blowing it up. And then they're like, okay, let's go. They start running down all these hallways and these tight corridors that are now, they're like completely overgrown with like the H.R. Giger, whatever, like the xenomorph walls, all right? Everything's xenomorph skin. They're running upstairs. They're doing all this shit. And they get to the elevator area. They press the button. They're waiting for the elevator to come down. It's taking forever. Of course, this massive queen shows up. All right. How does that thing get to this elevator bank? I mean, she couldn't have taken the same way that those two humans just took. She's way bigger physically. So does she just, in her mind, does she guess, like, oh, I know those humans, they're escaping now, they're running to the elevators to go up to the top, I am going to take this other way that I know that's got a lot more headroom? You know, is that what the queen is thinking? Does she sense them? Does she sniff them out? And then just kind of like get there, you know, whatever the back way is. If that's the case, then going back to point number 2, how did Newt survive all that time in her little hideout or wherever, running around, if the xenomorphs can, in fact, sense where the humans are, if they can sniff them out? You know, you can't have both. All right. So moving on to number 5. and this will be the last one for Aliens. The ending, the entire blast the queen into outer space sequence. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about this one a whole hell of a lot because I don't think I need to. I think most people, when they see the shot with, I mean, they've already had the fight. I'm not gonna say how crazy that shit is. They're already down now. They're down in that chute. The loader is laying on top of the alien queen, and then the door opens and everything's just dangling, but also like everything's being like vacuum sucked out. Like the universe is like pulling. You see the body of Bishop all ripped in half. He like starts flying out. You see all these toolboxes and shit's just like, hurricane winds, and all that combined with the weight of the loader and this fucking huge queen are like hanging from that cool shot of Ripley's Reebok. Everything's just like hanging there, and Ripley's like got this death grip on the railing. It's crazy. Okay, so that's gonna be number 5. All right, so moving on to the original 1979 classic Alien. This movie has such a cool feel to it. I mean, I was watching it the other day, and it really has a cool mood to it. It endlessly builds tension. It has what I love the aesthetic of this movie. I love the way it looks. The set pieces are like, they're so flat. Like the plastic, everything's white. The room where Dallas is in with like all the panels and stuff, all the panels throughout the ship for that matter, they got like all these lights and stuff that are just in these rows. Everything's uniform, but it all has like this analog feel to it. Like this movie is supposed to take place after Covenant and Prometheus, which obviously look way newer and everything looks more techy because those movies are new. But like this original movie, like everything looks like a touchtone phone, or like what's the rotary phone? Everything looks like that. It's got this look to it that it would have been cool if the prequels somehow, if they were able to like make the ships and just make the movie look like it was recorded like on film. That would have been cool. If I could change one thing about those movies, maybe it would be that. Actually, if they could be like retro, that'd be fucking rad. But sorry, digressing back to Alien. It's got all that stuff going for it. You know what it really isn't, and this is something that I love to say when I'm fighting with people in Facebook comments or whatever. I love to say that the movie is Space Halloween, okay? And it's not. It's not Space Michael Myers. And I like to say that, but it's really not. I mean, it's grand. This movie's really cool. I mean, but with that said, we're here to talk about head scratchers, and Alien does have a few, so we'll get into those right now. Alright, so bullet point number 1 in my, critique of Alien is Kane. What the hell is Kane doing when he's exploring the derelict ship? He is the executive officer of a, quote, commercial towing vehicle, end quote. Right? Is he not? He's not some scientist. He's not an explorer. He's not a soldier. He is an executive officer of a tow truck. So he wanders into the ship. He discovers these eggs. He discovers a bunch of shit. The space jockey, all this crazy stuff going on. But we'll focus on the eggs. He's got his recorder, and he mentions that there's biological organisms inside. Okay, and you know how the rest of the story goes. He gets facehuggered, blah, blah, blah. So when you compare this to Alien Covenant, at least the, quote, idiot, everyone loves to rip this guy. Captain Oram played I forget the guy's name now, but we all know who Captain Oram is. At least in Covenant, he is the chief science officer. He's exploring these eggs, and you know why? Because that's his goddamn job. Okay, I guess one could argue that Kane isn't a science guy. Well, if that's the case, if that's what you're going to stand on, then neither is Hallett. And if you know who Hallett is, Hallett's the security guy, the husband of Lope, the guy wearing the cool hat, the guy that he like sticks his nose like right up against the thing, and he sucks up the black mist, and he's the one that gets mouth bursted out in the field. Okay, so if he's an idiot, if that's your thing, then Kane's an idiot. All right. If Covenant sucks because people are idiots, then Alien sucks because people are idiots. Moving on to bullet point number 2 of Alien critiques here tonight. The quarantine procedures. All right, this has got to be one of the biggest gripes about Prometheus and about Alien Covenant, is that the teams are constantly breaking procedures or just simply making stupid choices, or the people are just stupid. Everyone always says that. They're idiots, blah, blah, blah. So the captain of the Nostromo, Dallas, and the navigator of the Nostromo, they're outside, and they are trying to get back into the ship after this whole excursion. Okay, stop right there. Those two should be under quarantine. They've been literally on an alien planet walking around. Those motherfuckers should be in quarantine. But not they. Don't forget about Kane. They're dragging the guy that has the creature attached to his face. All right, they're demanding that Ripley disobey all quarantine procedures and the laws and let them in the ship. All right, that's pretty well stupid, is it not? I mean, all right, so just to wrap up the points here from Alien, bullet points 1 and 2, both really, regarding the crews making bad choices, I think it's kind of like right in line with the other examples I've been giving about like take the Nostromo, for example. You have Lambert and Dallas, the captain of the ship. They're stuck outside. They have Kane with them, who's got whatever's going on with him. They have no idea. And they're like screaming over the radio intercom, like, "Oh, Ripley, open the door, break a seal, let us in, blah, blah, blah." Like, that's like one of the worst decisions probably made in any of the movies, no doubt. But the fans are like, "Wait, no, they're not scientists. They're tired." Crazy examples. That literally leads to everyone dying. I mean, it is Ash that lets everybody in, but it was Dallas's request, and he's the captain, so it doesn't get any worse than that. As far as like people in Covenant, people are like, "Well, this is the dumbest crew of all." Some say that, some say it's Prometheus, but look at what happened in Covenant. Everything that happens in that movie is way worse than what happens in Alien, up to that point at least. You have they're all couples, we know that. You have Captain Oram, his wife Corinne gets, they're actually speaking like over the radio, and she's like being killed. He hears it happen, and then he gets there just in time to watch the ship explode, which she's on. You have Tennessee, who's like helpless up in the Covenant ship as he's listening to his wife Ferris down below, dealing and like breaking down. Like, imagine that, like your wife is just totally just giving out, and she's just going through this awful situation, and then she dies. And earlier in the movie we had Jacob burn alive right in front of Daniels, they're a couple. And you have also Lope, Sergeant Lope, who has his husband, Hallett, die super violently in his arms in the field. So, and then, yeah, everything goes downhill from there. But, I mean, imagine what you'd be thinking if you're Oram. You've just been through all that. I mean, not to mention that, I mean, he's kind of made it to be this, like, religious guy. Like, all his belief systems are pretty much shattered. Learning about this alien life out there, it kind of, I mean, at least puts into question everything he kind of believes. He is now, for the first time ever, being a leader. I mean, he was second in command. The captain dies. Now he's thrust into this position, this like extreme like duress. People are dying all around him, and he's in charge. he's like regarded as one of the dumbest characters of all time. But I mean, he's the first person ever in the timeline that gets uh, face huggered, really. So I mean, it's not like he definitely didn't know what he was getting into. But I mean, people always rip the Covenant team and the Prometheus team, like, well, they were scientists, they should have known better. It's like, not really. You live through like the most fucking horrific shit, and then you you get lost. If you're a five field, you you pet the snake if you're Milburn. I mean, whatever. I mean, I would love to do a whole podcast episode on this, kind of comparing and contrasting the bad choices made on both sides. But a lot of the fans, if you kind of present this stuff, they don't have it. They're like, well, one thing I heard is Dallas was commanded to listen to Ash and stuff. It's like, no, man, Dallas is the captain of the ship. He doesn't have to listen to anybody. Kane should have been in quarantine rather than sitting there at dinner. Could have infected everyone or whatever. So there's just millions of bad choices, or millions is a crazy exaggeration, but there's bad choices all throughout the series from every single one of these things. But to really give out to the Covenant and the Prometheus people, and not to give out to, or not like bust the balls of the characters from the first two movies, it's funny. It's funny that people do that. We're just going to move straight on to bullet point 3 of the topic here. The ending. The ending. Ripley, this is like the final scene. Ripley's just gotten she feels safe. She's in that scene where she's in those tiny underwear and she's hanging out. And then she gets jump scared. She gets jump scared by the alien, and then immediately like falls asleep. Like the big chap has to like lay there, and like the gases are like blasting on him, and it kind of goes on for like too long. He's just laying there, and then he finally gets annoyed to the point where he's like slowly like lumbering awake, and he climbs out, and he's just kind of like there. What the hell is happening during the sequence? I mean, it's so bizarre, like how slow this is. Like Ripley's like climbing into the suit, there's tension, like she doesn't want to wake up the alien, but the alien kind of already is awake, and it like was just flailing its arms. Like it's so funny. It's like such a funny ending. The big chap's just like, oh, right, I'm gonna fucking climb out of this cubby now. Like it feels like it barely even sees Ripley or something. It's bizarre. I was watching it the other day, and I was like, I mean, of course I've seen the movie, but every time I watch that scene, it's just like, what the fuck is really happening right now? It's so funky. All right, so that's going to pretty much do it. I mean, there are definitely other things people have pointed out, and you can point out, such as like the flamethrowers. I mean, are you supposed to be shooting flamethrowers inside of a super oxygen rich spaceship? I don't think so. Like they don't have stoves, right? Or ovens, or sorry, yeah, stoves. You can't cook, you can't boil water, so should you really be shooting flamethrowers? I don't know what's the scientific goings on there, but you get the idea. It's pretty wild. All right, y'all. I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Again, I do absolutely love the whole franchise, especially these 4 movies that we've talked about today. They're really like right on the top of some of my favorite movies, period, of any genre. And of course, I think they're like really some of the best science fiction stories ever told. I love these movies, but I do get sick of these like super fans absolutely raking the prequels over the coals time and time again with the same old arguments, while Alien and Aliens go really completely like unscrutinized by the same people. I'd argue that Alien and Aliens are just as flawed, and in some cases the flaws are the exact same as the prequels. I didn't write this, or I didn't do this podcast, I should say, as like a examination of the flaws of all the prequels. I mean, you can definitely say, Fiefeld's an idiot because he had one job and he got lost, or what's the other guy's name? He shouldn't be petting the alien snake because why the fuck would you do that? And yeah, okay, I'm not arguing, but that's not what this was about. Like I said before, I just think it's funny, I think it's funny how the same the same people can argue stuff about the prequels being rubbish, and then just totally overlook the same stuff in the first two. But anyways, I don't want to ramble. I really thank you guys for listening and hanging out. It's been fun to discuss this, especially at a time when we're not doing anything in the world. That's going to date this podcast. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for listening. If you like what you heard, leave me a comment. Give the video a like, subscribe. I don't do movies like this, but I definitely could. I love movies, and I love talking about movies. So maybe that's somewhere I'll go with the channel here. Or maybe not. This will be a one-off about Alien, about Aliens, about Prometheus, and about Covenant. 4 movies that I absolutely love. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it, y'all. Take care. All the best.